Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the topic of our last episode, working with your spouse. If you are unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when our podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. And now let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. What if you could have everything you want just by changing the way you think? You are where you are right now because of the way you think. You are the creator of your reality. You are the creator of your thoughts. Carol Register is an Sync certified master neuro coach who combines neuroscience with principles of wealth to bring you rapid results in creating the reality you want. As an international business owner, global investor, consultant, speaker, and coach, her passion is empowering you to create the life that you love. So, Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Candy. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm looking forward to this topic. But before I ask you any of the other questions I have on the topic, I would love for you to tell me just a little bit more about yourself and how did you start your investing?
Oh, I started because I had moved overseas with my husband. We had sold our business. He started one of the only online insurance brokerages, car insurance brokerages. At the time, it was carinsurance.com. We sold it to a company called QuinStreet. You can Google that for the details. And we decided we wanted to retire overseas. So we went and purchased a property in southern Chile in the beginning of the Patagonia region. Absolutely gorgeous. A boutique hotel that had been owned by an American couple for 25 years, had an excellent reputation. A lot of what was going on behind the scenes, though, was he had gotten very ill. And sometimes when you're in the midst of things, you know it's serious, but you don't always know how serious. So I closed on the property in March of 2014. He sold our home in Florida, came over, and passed away promptly in September of 2014. So there I was, a widow, alone in a foreign country, brand new business. I had been a high-level gymnastics judge and clinician and for many years and an independent contractor, but not really an entrepreneur. And so I had a new language, a new culture, grieving the death of my husband after a 30-year marriage and completely alone and, brand new business. So it was a steep learning curve, to say the least.
I can't even imagine. That must have been so overwhelming to have been in that situation. But I know that you learned a lot from that too, because that's the topic we're talking about even today. So I'm not that I'm glad that you went through that, but I'm glad that you have the expertise to share with our listeners. And so I do know people are probably listening thinking, well, right now is even a little bit of a crazy time with what's going on in the economy. Like, isn't it risky to be investing overseas, especially as things are just in this upheaval?
I love this question. And I will tell you, now is the best time ever. In a recession economy, this is the time to look for and take advantage of opportunities. And life is short, as I mentioned, and I have been able to break through that bubble of offshore investing. Global investing. What is that? Well, we all have the same issues all across the globe, no matter where we are. We need shelter, we need housing, we need schools, we need roads, we need there's plenty of wonderful things out there to invest in, including a property. And there are so many advantages to doing that.
So if you invest in a property overseas, like you had mentioned, there's this boutique hotel, and originally you had moved overseas. I know right now you're in the United States. So if you're owning a property in another country too, do you end up hiring a staff to like run everything for you, and then you're just getting kind of the profit each month? Or how would that work if someone is like, well, it sounds interesting, I'm thinking of pursuing that, but I don't know how I would manage it?
That is also so interesting that you ask. I appreciate that question as well, because there are a lot of ways to establish it. I live in both places. I've attained my residency there and am qualified for citizenship. This is in southern Chile in the beginning of the Patagonia region. We're on one of 5 large lakes, surrounded by the Andes Mountains with glacier-covered volcanoes, skiing, rafting, everything you could think of, fishing, hot springs. It's incredible, right? And the reason that you really want to lean in and take advantage of situations like this is because the advantages are so broad and so complete. So, it really depends on the business that you may just want to buy property. There are, I'm not an accountant. And so I'm actually a certified neuro coach, as you mentioned in my bio. And the reason I mention that is I do teach principles of wealth and about international living. However, it really depends on what your goals are and what you want to do. Do you want to go and buy personal land? I've done that overseas. Do you want to have a business? If you have a business, what is that business? What's your business model? As an entrepreneur, in order to be successful entrepreneurs, we want to think in terms of outsourcing so that we can focus on the vision and the leadership and revenue goals of our business. So I currently have a well-trusted administrator, a family member, and I also have hired and outsourced management that in turn took profit and paid me rent. So there are several different things that you can do. Now, currently my property, we are putting it up for sale because our goals have changed, both me individually and as a family. And, it is a completely sustainable property and value add. So it's what you want. And I recommend getting with somebody who can help empower you to clarify that for yourself and decide with intention what you're going for. Yeah.
Well, as you were speaking, I was also thinking, finding obviously a professional to work with. And so if buying a property, obviously you have to find a real estate agent in the country or something you're interested in too. Or if you're looking for just overseas opportunities in general and investments, a financial planner. But how would somebody, if they're a person that they work with right now for a financial resource, maybe doesn't have the experience or know all of the opportunities internationally, how would they go about finding somebody who might be a great fit for them?
That is so important to do. So my recommendation is have a tax attorney and CPA in the U.S. that are specialists, specifically with lots of experience in international work and people who do things. Because here in the U.S., when you live internationally, there are several additional forms that are required to be filed, and your bank overseas will have FATCA requirements, FATCA. There is a foreign earned income exclusion. When I purchased property, owning land personally, there was no property tax requirement in the U.S., and there was in the country I chose to live in. But you want to be with a professional who knows about these things, knows about the ongoing changes that are going on. And this is a bit of the cost of doing this, but there are other amazing savings, depending on where you go and what your goals are. Have that same tax professional, attorney, and CPA there, and you can work with a real estate brokerage that you know. I became a Keller Williams representative in Chile. Keller Williams is a worldwide brand, very well known, and it's really important that you consider these as a part of the cost of doing this, and the help that you will receive is phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't think you should go about trying to do this without professional assistance because, like I said, I mean, there's so many different things that are going to impact it, right? You're going to have the tax laws in the United States that are going to affect it. You're going to have whatever country, that you're also involved in, and just paperwork. Like even like I said, if you have a business that you're operating in another country, what are the requirements for you to operate there? And then how is that going to be impacted versus your US income? Even if you're earning it somewhere else, the US, requires you to claim everything. So, I mean, it just seems like it can be overwhelming thinking through all of the things, that you have to do. So, I mean, did you have like a checklist of make sure that you find out the taxes and the business licenses and the, or how did you find out everything you had to do?
We did, and I have learned a lot on the journey. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. When you're taking a risk, your brain is wired to keep you safe, not make you successful. So you're going to have the limiting beliefs and the fears and the doubt come up. Lean in. Just acknowledge those. Thank your brain for keeping you safe. And we can successfully rewire our brains, replace those limiting beliefs with success beliefs. And it starts with support. It starts with simplicity and clarity. So, I highly recommend that, you be willing to go for your dreams. Be willing to play big. Don't play small. Life is short. And I wouldn't trade this experience for the world. On so many different levels, not only the beauty, but the business growth and learning, the knowing and understanding the culture. Where I am, the culture is modeled more off of Europe than it is the U.S. Have a much different and higher level of etiquette. We're very direct, and so where I am, it's Spanish speaking and German speaking. There's not English. So I got to all the legal laws and HR, all of that are in Spanish. And running a business there, I formed an LLC, but you need to know these things in the country. But just take one small step, break it down, keep it simple. Be clear about what you want. Keep that vision of what you're really wanting and why at the top. And then from there, just keep it simple. Break it down into small steps. That's the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule in action. And, small things bring big results, right? Let's let 20% or less of what we do produce 80% or more of our results. So one other thing I want to say that is very helpful when you're considering where you're going is what are their visa requirements and do they have a tax treaty with the U.S.? When I moved to Chile, they had a tax treaty in process. So we got to operate under that, even though it wasn't yet official. It is official now. And that, so that means that there are great exclusions here because if you're a U.S. citizen, you you need to be aware that you're a worldwide taxpayer, no matter where you live and what you do. But the U.S. does work through tax treaties with different countries, and there is the foreign earned income tax exclusion. And there's also great information that is now, I believe, updated on owning property in another country. So look for a country with a tax treaty and a specialist who understands about that.
So if someone wants to find that information too, like, is there a website, or like, where would they go to say, okay, what countries have the tax treaties that I can consider, these are the places I want to start looking?
Yeah. I would highly recommend that you take everything you find on the internet with a grain of salt.
Right.
We have how many, 70, 80,000 of tax code. That's why you need a professional with this.
Right.
And the best way that I recommend is talk to people, to start asking around, get word of mouth. You can do research on the internet. That is great to do. You can go in armed with information and questions. But often what my experience has been, I don't know if yours has been this, Candy, is you can talk to 3 different professionals and get 3 different answers.
Depending on the subject matter.
Depending on the subject matter, yes. And depending on their awareness of the legal exclusions, their awareness of the tax code, really. Are they a professional? Are they experienced? Do they have clients that you can talk to? So start asking around. There was several years ago, pre-pandemic. See, I've been in Chile now 8 years, 8.5 years. So at that time, I believe there was a magazine on retiring overseas and all the benefits. And I'm sorry, I don't recall that, but look that up. It was a well-known publication. I suspect it's still in existence for people like me who love new adventures, love taking these kind of positive risks. And just briefly, you can sit in your comfort zone. And you can hold back and play small and not do these things. And what we often find is that turns out to be even more risky than going for it and playing big. The universe, it was Lloyd Blankenstein, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs. He said the universe rewards risk takers. So,
well, if you think about an example where, someone wants to play it safe, the economy's crazy, I'm going to stick my money in the mattress, right? Under the mattress, versus investing in, yes, things go down and things go up again. But over time, when you look at the trend, the value of your investment ends up going up long term, right? So in the long run, playing it safe, you lost money, right? So, but it can be scary. I mean, I think one of the questions people might even have too is, how do you deal with, different currencies, right? You've got the US dollar, and then you're in another country that has, a totally different, whatever country you're in, they have, in most cases, their own currency, or maybe you're dealing in Europe with the euro or something. But how do you deal with having these 2 different currencies?
That's a great question. And you have to remember, with all of this that I'm giving you, my learning curve has been over time. Right. It was steep initially. I had a sold out hotel. I came back from the memorial service with a sold out hotel. I had never been in the hospitality industry with a full staff in high season. And I had 2 groups back to back right when I arrived back from the memorial service. We had one in Santiago and one here in Florida. So this is why I know that applying principles in alignment with your values works and helps you to remove decision-making fatigue, helps you to really be able to lean in. So, it's important to take things a step at a time. With currencies, one of the things that we did was we had to learn a whole new banking system. And going in, I really understand what it's like to be an immigrant. The people in that country, and I've spent a lot of time in Europe, particularly in France, and we do it here in the US, they expect you to know things that you're not familiar with. They assume you know the system. And I didn't know the system, and there were a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. So step by step, I got to learn. We established there you can't just go and open a bank account unless you do it through their People's Bank. So we had connections. Collaborate with people, talk to people, get into expat groups wherever you're going, get with the U.S. Embassy or consulate. There will be people there that you can ask questions about. We ended up having contacts, being able to open a bank account, especially because of the type of visa we went in on and owning a business. And because of that, we had both a Chilean peso account and a dollar account. And we're able to make exchanges depending on what that buying rate is. You know, not nearly as complicated as Forex. There are plenty of experts in currency exchanging. And it's been a wonderful experience because, when it's better to buy dollars, we do that. When it's better to buy pesos, we do that. So, yeah.
Nice. So I know I had asked to, is there a website or, things. And I know, like I said, take it with a grain of salt and use that information just to, basically start figuring out, maybe where you want to go. But I guess what are the kinds of things people should be looking at if they're starting to do their research into another country? Like, what are maybe the top couple of things they need to consider to decide, is this a good opportunity? Is this a great location for us or not?
Yeah. I would say three things. One is look to see what the visa requirements are, where you're going. Look to see what the tax treaty is with the U.S. And also, be clear on why you're going, what you want and why you're going. And because, there are some fabulous advantages to traveling, to culture. It just expands your ability to connect with people and understand people in a whole different way.
That's so true. I know I had visited Taiwan at one point. My daughter lived in Taiwan for 2 years. And then I visited Ecuador I think it was 3 or 4 times because my daughter and son-in-law and at the time, one grandchild had lived there. And it was so interesting looking at the differences in culture, but obviously seeing some of the similarities. But I actually had enjoyed taking notes and saying, like, this is what I've noticed. And I saved that just for my own thing. And I like to look back at it periodically to say, well, in the US, this part might be better in this instance, but this was way better, over there on how they were doing it. Like one of the things my daughter had said she loved being in Taiwan was the community there. Because here, like, you can invite someone to a party and they may not RSVP at all, or they wait till the last minute to see if something better comes along, but there you might say, hey, I'm going to go on this bike ride on Saturday, and anyone who wants to come, come join me. And a bunch of people will come because they all like to do things together. So, I mean, things like that where how we are individualistic and other places are so community oriented was one of the things I noticed.
Very true. And like I said, the indirect culture, the etiquette, the higher level of, and to me, etiquette is really serving. It's really thinking of the other person. Right. And you also being you, authentically you, bringing you to the culture as well. It really also, I'm thinking about the question. I'm looking at it through a business lens and an investing lens. But if you're going for personal reasons, Sometimes the cost of living is much lower, or it balances out. What's the medical care in the country you're at? How are you going to have access to it? Is there a U.S. embassy or consulate? Is there expat groups? Look through the lens of what your goals are, whether they're personal, which I think is much more simple, and or business and investment, and keep it simple, break it down.
I think one of the things too that I found actually unexpected, maybe when I went to Ecuador, because you've heard too, the cost of living there is so much lower, but the cost of products to purchase was so much more expensive because it was basically like a 50% import tax and sales tax on top of it. So although the cost of living was lower per se, the minimum wage was only like $3 an hour, really. So if you're paying for services on things, it's inexpensive. But for somebody there earning that money, it takes them so much longer to be able to actually buy something because the earnings are low, the cost is high. So maybe looking into that type of situation as well to see if someone could afford where you want to purchase.
Yeah, what are your health insurance? What are all your insurance costs? There, ours are much lower. What about healthcare? Electronics are higher. So, when we do visits, we put things in our suitcase that are advantages in the country that we're in. And when we're there, we're fully immersed. We're really living. We're not, we have our comforts, but we're not really trying to, we released our lifestyle here so that we could fully experience what's there.
Right.
That's what I've always done in travel. In Europe, rather than get a hotel, and of course now there's Airbnb, but 30 years ago when my oldest daughter was young, we rented apartments to be established in a neighborhood, get to know the grocery, understand the culture and what their lifestyle's like. So, yeah.
Right. So in terms of, of someone listening now to and saying, okay, I am interested in pursuing this opportunity, I'm definitely going to, look into it and things like that. Again, what would you say maybe the first step is, the second step? I know you said look at visas and things like that too, but in terms of actually the opportunity for investment, do you have like an order of things that you should do?
That is a great question. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't thought through that in that particular way. But when you're thinking about keeping it simple and breaking it down, think about your basic needs. You're going to need some stability, right? You're going to need shelter and food and clean water, health care, and you want to be legal in the country you're in. So I'll go back to the visa requirements. Right. Visas are changing all the time right now in particular. And with what I do with the neuro coaching with my business partner, I'm a digital nomad. I can work anywhere in the world. And that's actually another advantage of traveling and specifically living overseas. I now speak more than one language and am fluent, and I can, I have a lot higher level of diversity. But yeah, just think about what your daily basic needs are. Break it down and look at the opportunities. There's lots of information out there, especially like I was saying, maybe you're not a retiree, maybe you're a young person. I have a daughter who's a professional photographer and she's lived all over the place.
Nice.
And so look at what you want and why. Look at what your basic needs are. Look at those visa requirements, and the word will be out about what the amazing investments are. Like, I was just visiting Costa Rica a few months back, and actually it's been a year ago, and their visas, their visa has changed. I believe don't quote me on this, not a professional, but they have a 2-year option. And instead of the typical just going in on a tourist visa, which usually are anywhere from 30 to 90 days in a country, so there were tons of U.S. people moving over there, tons of homes being built, communities, look at the economy of the country.
Right. So important.
Yeah.
Well, I know
because
we're running
there
short on
it's
time.
call centers. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know we're running short on time. So I want to have you have the opportunity to share an offer and let people know how to connect with you if they have any questions or just, want to find you on LinkedIn or wherever it is you want to share.
Okay, yeah, I would love to. So I have a podcast as well, if you're open to me sharing that.
Sure.
That is Unleashed and Unstoppable. My business partner and I really go into using neuroscience with the principles of productivity and wealth so you can get rapid results in creating that reality that you want. You can... That's probably the best way to reach us right now. The offer we have open, we are taking enrollment on our Diamond Transformation program. The Diamond Transformation is our 9-month program to take you deep with 3 simple pillars, restore, rewire, and renew, so that you can rewire your limiting beliefs, wire in your success, and operate by those principles that are in alignment with your values. So you can create those super rapid results. And we have lots of testimonials and plenty of clients that you can speak with who are having phenomenal results because neuroscience is a proven process and it's simple. So,
and we'll put all the details on how to find you also in the show notes, so people can look that up as well in the description. But Carol, I just want to thank you so much for being a guest and sharing your experience with this overseas investing. I'm sure that people will be really interested in hearing what you had to say.
Thank you for this opportunity, and guys, go for it. Go for it. It's the best thing that I've ever done. Nice. Despite all the obstacles, despite all the risk, I would not trade it for the world.
Fabulous. Thank you also, listeners, for tuning in and hearing this discussion on the benefits of overseas investing. If you have additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Carol, or you could send us a message at media@abandp.com. I hope you can join us for our next episode, what steps to take to actually get your next 10 clients. And remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. You can also find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And would you please share our show with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? I'd really appreciate your support. And until next time, have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.